don't think there's any worse feeling than going out to where you left your bike and seeing that it's gone. I know there's no worse thing I can think of than that event happening. So I thought today I'd have a chat about different devices and different things and different ways you can think about keeping your motorcycle from getting stolen. What's up? Jim here. Welcome back to J Street Moto. Welcome to the channel if it's your first time. So far on this channel, I've done videos about ways you can approach your training on your motorcycle. Meaning, you know, things you can be practicing that might one day save your life and help you be a better motorcyclist in general. I've talked about things you can carry with you on the bike, or ways that you can approach situations when confrontation happens while you're riding your motorcycle. How you can protect yourself. Talked about that. One thing that I haven't talked about though is different things you can do to increase the chance that your motorcycle will not become the target of thieves and get stolen. I got a comment from someone that was watching one of my earlier videos this past week, and the question was, you know, he had been looking at getting a Harley and had been hearing at the dealers that Harleys get stolen quite a bit. And you know, I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole of the statistics and demographics of the kinds of motorcycles stolen and which ones are the most frequent. Harley's not the most frequent one stolen, but it is towards the top of the list. I'll just leave it at that. And well, it got me thinking. I was like, what kind of things can we do to ensure that our bike doesn't get stolen? We don't become a statistic. And let me back up a little bit. If you're new to the channel, I'm a martial artist, something that I do in my life. I own a martial arts school, so I teach self-defense quite a bit. And part of teaching self-defense is understanding the mindset of a criminal. And the reality is, for the most part, vast majority of folks that are looking to do something illegal are doing it because they're just damn lazy. Make yourself a hard target and you're not going to be the target. I would say the same applies to motorcycles. Now, go back to the conversation that I was having via chat or via, you know, comments with this guy. First words that came out of my mouth, and if you haven't done it yet, I strongly suggest you do it. All the modern motorcycles from Harley that are started with a fob, they come with a security pin. And if the fob's not present when you go to turn that bike on like you normally would, the bike's going to ask you for that pin. If you know the pin, the bike will start. It comes with a default pin. I can't remember what it is exactly from the factory, but it's either all zeros or all ones. Something stupid like that. If you don't change that pin, don't go griping to people when your motorcycle gets stolen. And well, and even the 4 clocks, I don't know that I would rely on that. Honestly, if they really want to do it, they can defeat that 4 clock. So that's just one that's in general across the board. The rest of these I'm going to talk about in categories or tranches, if you will. And I'm going to break it up into 3 different tranches. One is, how can you protect your motorcycle where you live, at your home, your domicile? One is, how can you best protect your motorcycle when you are out and about, but you're not going to be near your bike? Say, concert or movie, date night, anything really. You park your bike somewhere and you're going to be away from it for a few hours. And the third tranche I'm going to cover is what you can do on overnight trips. Say you're going to take a week-long trip. You're going to travel around the country. Let's just dive right into it. At home, I will go ahead and preface this whole thing by saying several of the things I'm going to mention can be used in all of the categories. A couple of them are tranche specific, but several of them can be used across all of them. So keep that in mind. And home, what you have to do at home to protect your motorcycle, well, and really, I'm not even going to say protect your motorcycle. The way I want you to switch your thinking is making your motorcycle a hard target, making your motorcycle hard to steal, making it unattractive to someone that would want to steal it. That's what we're talking about here. So at home, you kind of have to answer a few questions. I probably have, or people that are in my position probably have the easiest setup. Got a house with an attached garage, and you park your motorcycle in that attached garage. That's the example that requires the least amount of work on your part to ensure that your motorcycle is a hard target for a thief. Because the reality is, it being in a garage makes it a hard target. Makes it tough to steal. Let's talk about the other kinds of places you might live. Maybe you have a house or a duplex and it has a carport. So the bike is outside It just has a shelter over top of it. Or you've got a driveway and you don't have any cover for the bike. It's sitting in a driveway. That's going to be a little easier for someone to steal, so you might have to take a few more measures to make that bike less attractive. And throughout this video, I'm going to be throwing pictures up, you know, when I talk about a given product. First one I'm going to talk about is it applies to this, and it would also apply to apartments, for instance. Say you live in an apartment complex. Maybe it's an apartment complex that has outdoor parking right by where your townhouse or apartment would be. Maybe it's one that, you know, you have to park in a parking garage within the same building that your apartment's in. Maybe it's one where you are having to park in a totally different building from the one you live in, but it's inside and it's undercover. The first one I'm going to cover is actually pretty cool. It's a anchor. The one that I'm going to show you is the one from Harley Davidson. I'm sure other companies make them. Basically, it's a steel plate that has a eye hook on it that's made out of steel. It comes with masonry bits that you drill into the concrete to affix that plate to the earth. Then you go get a motorcycle chain, a motorcycle lock chain, that kind of thing, and you run it through a part of the bike that would make it difficult for someone to steal and attach it to that anchor. Whether it's your front wheel, whether it's the frame of the motorcycle, whether it's the swing arm. There's tons of places you can put it on the bike that make it challenging for people to get it off. And these chains that I'm talking about are extremely thick. They're going to be harder to cut than just what the average bolt cutter can take care of. And I can see that being useful for the people that have a carport, the people that just park in their driveway in front of a house or a duplex, or, you know, a townhome, the people that park outside in front of condos or whatever in a parking lot out there. I could potentially even see it being useful for the apartment dweller who parks either in his building or her building, or parks in another building altogether. As long as you're not going to get in trouble for drilling into the concrete where you are renting your domicile. Next thing we're going to cover is you're going to a concert. You're going to be parking your bike at a remote location for several hours and then coming back out to it. For this scenario, and these, the ones I'm getting ready to mention right now, these honestly are applicable to all three categories. They make locks that go on your rotor. You can either attach it to the front or the rear rotor, but they make locks that go on your rotor. Some are better than others, so I suggest you do your research and figure out which one is the best one for you. Which one do you think is going to give you the most security? Some of them are just the lock themselves, and what they do is they keep the the wheel from being able to turn. Some of them are alarmed, meaning if they sense any motion on the bike at all, like someone bumps into it or whatever, it's going to set off anywhere between 110 and 130 dB shriek that is going to attract attention and discourage someone from potentially stealing your bike. I personally would prefer, I don't use them, but I would prefer the one that has an alarm. Next one, and this is a big one. I honestly like the idea of this one, and I'm seriously going to start researching it for my own use when I am traveling. Even though I've never had an issue traveling, guys, I will say that. It's a device that you attach to the bike, and it is a GPS tracker. It's also an alerting system, and you connect your phone to it. It's got an app. You connect your phone to it. When the phone is not in the proximity of the bike, if the bike starts moving, it sends you an alert to your phone to let you know, hey dude, I don't think you're near the motorcycle and something's happening with the motorcycle. Might give you a head start at being able to either startle someone trying to steal your motorcycle and get them to go away, or certainly, worst case scenario, give you data that you can provide the police to help them locate where your bike might have gone to or where it currently is. You can use the, what are they called, air dots or whatever. There are other devices that you can put on your motorcycle that allow you to see where it's at from your phone. Problem is they don't alert you, So you're not going to even know to look at it until you come out and realize your motorcycle's gone. And I think those things are a little easier to find. The device I mentioned a second ago that alerts you, they're a little less common, so they're not something that the average criminal probably not going to know about that device, so he's not going to know what to look for. Both of those, honestly, can be used all three scenarios. What I like about the one that I mentioned first is the fact that it alerts you, so it gets you ahead of the timeline when it comes to something happening with your bike. All the other kinds of devices I've seen that do something similar to that, you've got to find out first your bike's been stolen. Let's go back to your domicile, as I forgot to mention this. One of the other things you can do at your home, especially if you park in a driveway without some kind of covering, or a carport, or even, hell, an apartment. They make these like dome things that you pull the bike into. There is a wheel chock at the front of it. You lock the bike into that, and then you close the thing up and lock it. So the bike's hidden, the bike's inside of an enclosure, the bike is secured in there in some way. Whether you lock it to the chock, or whether you, hell, drill one of those anchors in there and wrap it up. Depends on how secure you need to make your motorcycle, and that's going to be based on kind of where you live. I would look at the statistics and the demographics in your area and know how common is it for motorcycles to be stolen. If it's a very common occurrence kind of thing, I'd probably take more precautions than I take where I live, where it's not normally a common thing. Last one we're going to talk about is traveling on the road. Hotels and traveling. One of the things we've gotten in the habit of doing over the years when we take our long trips is when we stay at a hotel, when we pull in and when we're checking in, we try to get the manager of the hotel or the people that work at the front desk at the hotel to allow us to park our bikes at that drive-through entryway underneath the awning. And we do that because we want to be able to have eyes on them all the time. That makes it a deterrent. A bike sitting in the middle of a parking lot, out in the middle of nowhere, maybe not even underneath a light, is going to be much more attractive to a thief than a bike that's sitting right in the entrance of a hotel where people are constantly driving through to check in, and where there's folks inside that are looking out. About 90% of the time, hotels are very accommodating about that. They're like, sure, absolutely, leave your bikes there. The other 10% of the time where it's, well, that's not really, we don't have enough room there for y'all to park. We don't want to be responsible if someone hits your bike when they're driving in to check in, and I get all of those concerns, right? But in that 10% of the time, typically the security guard that works there in the lobby that goes and keeps an eye on things will tell us where to park and tell us that he or she will keep an eye on our stuff while we go get rest. And if there's a turnover, if there's a shift turnover, they'll pass that on to the next person that's coming on. So you got a set of eyes on it. You got someone that's going to be coming out and looking for it. And usually where they tell us to put the bikes is almost as secure. It would be where we would pick if we couldn't go to under that entranceway. So we do that, and that's worked out for us very well. Also, bike covers, and I don't take one with me when we travel. I really don't. I've never found a need to. I've only taken it one time. I've got a cover for this bike. I took it with us when we went to Key West, because in Key West we were parking the bikes for a few days and just kind of walking around the island. We weren't really doing any riding while we were there. The riding was happening coming into Key West and leaving Key West. So I brought a cover to put on the bike then, because anything you can do that makes it less attractive. Kind of how I approach everything when it comes to preventing people from stealing my motorcycle. If you do go to rallies, be very aware that that is a hotbed for crime. People do get their bikes stolen at motorcycle rallies, at some more than others. I don't know, I should have looked it up. Y'all look it up and drop it in the comments. Tell me. I can't see Sturgis being a hotbed for, people stealing bikes. Can't see that happening. I think Sturgis would be one of those places that bikes wouldn't get stolen, or it's less likely for them to get stolen. Myrtle, I know for a fact at the Myrtle bike rallies, people get their shit stolen. I know it. I know what happens there. I know what happens in Daytona. How do I know that? Because I'm always seeing posts during those rally weeks where people are like, hey man, this bike just got stolen, and here's what it looks like. Can you pass it around to your friends to see if they see it? I'm not friends with the whole community that's there. And if the small subset of people that are there have people that are getting bikes stolen. I'm talking like 2 or 3 people getting bikes stolen during the course of that week. I can only imagine, ramp it up to scale, there are a lot of bikes being stolen at those rallies. Pay attention. Take special precautions. Drop in the comments. What do you do? Do you do anything? Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks so much for watching. Do me a favor, like, subscribe, click the notification bell, share it with your friends. All that stuff's absolutely free to you, and it does help the channel. Always ride safe.
Yeah, ready? 1, 2, 3, shoot. Ah. Asshole.
Really? Peace out, bitches!